super big fan of you. I've been speaking with you for a few months, back and forth, hoping to get a day today to finally learn more about your business and yourself as an entrepreneur. So let's go all the way to the beginning. What is the origin story of Gooey on the inside?
So Gooey on the inside started 8 years ago. Started literally from my Chelsea apartment, and I initially worked for the city as a clinical analyst, and I just pretty much had enough of that. I didn't know what my next move was, but I knew that it was going to be literally like my passion project. I didn't know what it was, and so I traveled for a bit. As you know, anyone living in New York, your money starts to run out.
I need to do something.
I need a job. I need a J-O-B. Yeah. And so I have no baking experience. I was like, how hard could it be to bake a cookie? Because I figured I wanted a business that I thought was more like a recession-proof business. And I realized, for me, I eat when I'm sad and I eat when I'm happy. And so I figured, okay, let me kind of figure out a business where it's, you know, something that's not even that's affordable. But initially the cookies were $5. So everyone has $5.
Yeah.
And so I started out, I had a friend that had a store on Lafayette Street. And so I literally did a little pop-up over the summer. And it worked out. And little like, you know, I started in my apartment. And it was just purely online. I had no visions of what iteration it was going to be. And from there, I moved to church basement, and then from there, it was a shared kitchen, and then about 5 years ago, I took the step to, you know, get a quote-unquote storefront, even though it's subterranean. But, and I started to hire people, and it literally, it took off from there. I mean, there's never really been a moment where, you know, I had a doubt that it was going to succeed, because I figured, like I said, I tried to figure out something where, again, it was something where people appreciate it in their highs and their lows and their bad times and their good times. And that's it.
How do you go about ensuring that you have a good product and differentiating yourself from the bad products that exist?
Right. Well, I use good ingredients, number one. That's like huge. I don't really skimp on buying like Nestle chocolate or anything like that. I try and get more of a higher end product. I mean, our cookies at this point now are $7, so we're not putting Hershey Kisses in the cookie. And just in terms of what differentiates us, it's like we have more of a unique flavors. Yes, we have the chocolate chip, but you know, we've got a dark chocolate caramel s'mores. No one has that. We do cookies in a jar. No one does that. Yeah. So the things that we do, you know, we're a little bit more out of the box as opposed to a regular cookie shop.
Yeah. So how do you feel like your background, being from the Caribbean, and even going to Canada and all over, how do you feel like that has inspired your business and even yourself as a founder and entrepreneur?
I think it's like when you're like a kid or even growing up in a different country, you always hear about the American dream. Coming to America, you can make it. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Yeah. I think it was that kind of energy, or you know, that I had an excitement, and I was like, you know, because yes, maybe I could have done it in Canada, but I don't think I would have had as much success as I do here, because it really is the land of opportunity. I mean, it pushes you like to work hard, because you appreciate being here, and you realize like there's a huge amount of opportunity.
How do you go about financing your business, at least in the beginning, like advice for some folks that might be watching at home?
Well, I use my savings, so I pretty much, it's all funded. And I mean, but again, I started, I think this business, it cost me about $25,000 to $30,000 to get it started with everything inside. But I didn't go and buy everything brand new. Like you said, we're subterranean to a certain degree, but that didn't bother me, because I said, you know what, you're going to smell us before you see us, and you're going to follow your nose. So it was no big deal for me to to find some place that was subterranean, like a basement. It didn't bother me, and the rent was cheap. And I figured, okay, it's my first store. You hear about things, especially in New York, places opening and then within like 3 years they close because the rent is sky high and blah blah blah. So I said, this is this eliminates somewhat some of the risk. And then, like I said, I bought all of my equipment used. You don't need to have everything right. Like, it's ridiculous. Especially when you're starting out, you don't need to. And everything if I could find, used, I bought it used. And it would be $25,000, and that's all it cost me. So you don't need a huge amount of money, but maybe some people don't even have 25. Then you can get an SBA loan, or gather your family and friends and say, hey, can I have 5 from you, 5? You know what I mean? Or you started out online. Like, that's what I said. I started out online. Most of my clients were online. So when I opened the store, that was just extra income from just walking, because we had that base of online. That was the business.
That makes sense. So do you feel like you would recommend self-funding your business at first?
If you can, then that way you have no one, controlling you, or no one having to put their 2 cents in.
That makes sense. Okay, so that's really, really great information. I think a lot of folks struggle with that piece, and sometimes that is the reason why they haven't started. Like, give me another year, give me another 2 years, and when I get the money, I'll do it. But to know that there's options, right? You can do the self-funding, family and friends, GoFundMe, whatever it is. So that's really great. Are you from a family of entrepreneurs? Are you the first entrepreneur?
I'm the first. Probably the last. And my parents were absolutely not supportive whatsoever, but that's just how the West Indian way. They're very much like, you get that good government job and you stay there for the rest of your life.
And that benefits.
That good government job. So to tell them, you want to go and open a cookie shop? Like, if you lost your mind, they're like, what are we going to tell people that you do? I own a cookie shop. No, we can't. That's embarrassing.
So that's a little unconventional.
So that's the deal with West Indian parents. They mean well, but when you do have success, they're the first to go to their friends and say, look at my daughter.
Yes, that is true. That is so true. Yes,
so you have to keep that in mind. So don't let that dissuade you. It's just how they were raised. So I'm hoping that this upcoming generation, is like, okay, try it. If you fail, you fail, but at least you tried.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly the sort of rhetoric that I grew up with as well. You become a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, maybe. Maybe we'll let you slide with like nursing and teaching. But for the most part, you have a few options, and that's it. Cookie store is not an option at all.
Definitely not an option.
But it's great though that when you started to find that success, they were supportive along the way.
Like our parents always say, like, as a kid, you're growing up in a black household and you get the talk. The talk is not the same talk as what the white kids would get. The talk is, you gotta work 10 times harder than your counterpart. So I would say it applies the same thing in business. As a person of color, you will have to work 10 times harder to get to that next step. You know what I mean? But put your head down and do it, and you'll reap the rewards at some point. But yes, you will definitely have to put in a lot more work to get there.
Yeah.